Ladies and gentlemen, may we all stand and receive our chief guest, His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
My work is only to call you so that you are able to vibrate these people and they cough out money in big numbers.
The Right Honorable Chivejinja, Africa is the origin of man. All human beings started here. Human beings evolved from monkeys 4.5 million years ago. And it happened here in Africa. And there are reasons it happened here in Africa and nowhere else. All this we have written about. And human beings stayed here, only here in Africa, until about 100,000 years ago, which is not a long time. Otherwise, for 4 million years, it was only here in Africa. There were no other human beings. The president of China today is trying to revive that road, the Silk Road, where merchandise was coming from China to Europe through that road. So when the Turkish captured that place in 1453, they blocked that road. That's the beginning of your problems. You the blacks. When the Turkish blocked that road, then the Europeans started looking for another road to go to China. That's how they started looking for a sea route to go around Africa. And that effort was led by the Portuguese. By 1460-something, they got to Sierra Leone. By 1482, there was a Portuguese man called Diego Cama. He got to where Angola is now. 1487, another Portuguese man called Bartholomew Diaz got to Cape Town in South Africa. And that's why he called that part called the Cape of Good Hope. The good hope was that now there is a chance of going around Africa, because he could see that the coast was now going, the terrain was going, the land mass was coming to an end of Africa. And then 1498, on Christmas Day, Vasco da Gama lands on the east coast of South Africa, which is called Natal. That word Natal is a Latin word meaning to be born, because he was there on Christmas Day, on the day of the birth of Jesus. So the Europeans now came to Africa. But when they came to Africa, they found that Africa was disorganized under chiefs who spent all the time just putting on ostrich feathers, looking like clowns, just no organization. And you cannot imagine that this, you can hear that Vasco da Gama passed the East African coast, because he passed Mombasa. He attacked Mombasa after leaving Natal, he attacked Mombasa, and went to India, and then came. So the Europeans started coming. This was 1498. So the Europeans were passing by the coast of East Africa. And the people here were getting information that the new people are coming. But they could not organize themselves to defend them us. Instead, they were busy fighting one another. This chief fighting the other chief, this one fighting the other chief. Now, until you remember, you people, I hope you study history. I had a rumor that you study history. It's not confirmed, but there's a rumor that you cannot have educated people who are not educated. You remember somebody called Huntington Speke came here in 1862. I calculated the years. This is 364 years after Vasco da Gama passed the coast of East Africa. So these Africans here had 364 years of warning that new people are coming. But nobody could wake up to say, let's prepare ourselves. So that these new people, when they come, they don't cause us a problem. No. The chiefs were busy fighting one another, behaving like clowns. And when the Europeans came, they captured them like grasshoppers. Attack this group today, tomorrow another group, tomorrow another group, until the whole of Africa was colonized by 1900. All of it, except for Ethiopia. So, the question is, what sort of people are you to be colonized, to be conquered? Are you maggots? What are you? It's a big, big, big insult to Africa. But the whole of Africa, by 1900, the whole of it had been colonized, except for Ethiopia. Ethiopia are the only ones who defeated the Europeans, who tried to colonize Ethiopia in 1896. So, by 1900, the whole of Africa is under the control of foreigners. Musashi becomes because Africa was in danger. The chiefs had failed to defend us. ANC of South Africa, they tried. Kabarega tried, even Mwanga, but it was too late because they had wasted a lot of time fighting one another instead of uniting the people. And they also didn't know how to fight, so they couldn't manage. But new people came up. The first people to organize was the ANC of South Africa, which was founded in 1912. And that's how other groups came up. Even here, you hear that it is, you can hear that in South Africa, African National Congress of South Africa. And you hear here, Uganda National Congress. They were copying from one another. They now realized that the chiefs could not defend us. We now need new people. to defend Africa. And that's how the Musazi people came up. So when we are saluting Musazi, you salute him because he came to fill a vacuum. Africa was leaderless, had no leadership. It was down. And people like Musazi come and say, please, you people stand up. This is how Musazi comes. I haven't to go to the details because I've never got a proper write-up. Because when I came, it was later. When I came to people like Chivejinja, who were earlier on involved, should write for us the detailed story of what happened when and so on and so forth. But I was hearing in the 1950s, when I was still young, I was hearing the work of I.K. Musazi. There were even other people who disappeared. There was a man called Matia Murumba. I don't know what happened to Matia Murumba. They used to talk to him about a lot from people. Then you had people like Jore Kiwanuka. You had people like Ike Murira and the others. They all came up. And that's how Musazi becomes very, very important. Because they are the people who came when Africa was down, was flat on the ground. And the idea was, Africa, stand up and let's get rid of these foreigners. Now, and as you hear, he used different instruments. It was an economic struggle, but also political struggle. Get organized. The labor union, the people who are transporters, drivers, and people like that. Then, in the end, he even formed a political party, the Uganda National Congress. So, use all instruments. Farmers, the labor union, political party. When I linked up with him, after we captured government, but even in 1980, he actually joined us. Yes, in 1980 he joined the small party we had started, called UPM. Although we didn't have enough time to talk, but he would tell me about how he went to Russia, how he used to work with the Labour Party of UK, a man called Fena Brockway. He was telling me about that. So you should write about all this. Somebody who knows those stories should write. Those, because we don't have a proper write-up on those stages of IK's life. So here he was, use the farmers through the cooperatives, use the labor unions through the trade unions, use the political party through the UNC, but also use foreign links with the Labour Party like Fena Brockway, and he also went to Russia because he told me. I think that's why they used to say that he was a communist. That he was a communist. A communist who is also a farmer. It doesn't make sense, but sense was not very, very common in those days. Then other people also came up. People like Julius Nyerere, Those came up later. Julius Nyerere started his activities later. In fact, in the 1950s, that's when, after he had left Makerere, because Julius Nyerere formed TANU in 1954. Then Kenyatta had started earlier. Nkrumah had started earlier. By 1945, he was already active. Then India, the struggle in India, which Virginia was telling you about. Indonesia, Sukarno, Indochina, the war in Indochina. The colonialists could not manage. Too much, so, because they were being attacked all over the place. In Nigeria, people like Nnamdi Azikiwe and Nnamdi Azikiwe and Awolowo and others. So, all over the place. Sekou Toure in West Africa, Modibo Keita. So there was a global anti-colonial movement, which, but then there are also other things which helped us. One of the things which helped us to get our freedom was also the greed. You know, greedy people are also good. You see, the Europeans were so greedy, controlling the whole world. Controlling the whole world. Why do you want to control the whole world? When you see somebody who's trying to control people, you mjinga. Why do you want to control people? People are not carpets. They're not. Why do you want to control them? But that's what they try to do. Now, when they try to do that, then they started fighting over us. You know, Germany got united in 1871. That Germany was not one country, it was 39 kingdoms of Germans. Germans, but not under one government. But they got united in 1871 under Bismarck. And when they got united, the Germans came to the British and the Portuguese and the Dutch and the French. They said, Mwatuba, you cheated us. You took more colonies. We don't have any colony. They thought it was an entitlement. We were like real estate. They were fighting over us. Wajinga. So Germany said, you cheated us. Look at the whole of India. You, the British, you have taken the whole of India. You, the Dutch, you have taken the whole of Indonesia. You, the French, you have taken the whole of Indochina. The Spanish, you have taken the whole of South America. You have killed all the Red Indians and you have taken their land. What shall we take, we the Germans? Where is our share? Fighting over us. Then the other Europeans said, please, Bismarck, don't start war. Please, let's give you another cake. The cake is Africa. Africa is still not shared. So they said, what you do, you Bismarck, you call a conference in Berlin in 1884, 85, and we share Africa. I said, okay. So they went and sat. Okay, now, Katumumpa Achi. what do you give me? I said, you Bismarck, you take Tanganyika, take Rwanda, take Burundi, take Namibia, take Togo. Bismarck said, okay, I'll work it out. At least I've got something. And then the British, Uganda, all this, all that. Then the French. So that was the Congress of Berlin, 1884. It was to persuade Bismarck not to start a war because over us, so that they had cheated him. The Germans have no share among the colonies. So Bismarck was. But then when Bismarck left power, the Kaiser, the king, Kaiser Wilhelm, said, no, it's rubbish. How can the British have the whole of India and the whole of this, and then you just give me Tanganyika and Burundi? That's how the First World War starts. You see how greed is good? So the Germans fight with the British. They really kill one another. Of course, they also mobilize us. We also got help in the also dying and killing and so on. But the Second World War, First World War is not conclusive. They make some peace, 1918. But the Second World War now starts over the same issues by Hitler. And that really weakened them so much that by end of 1945, they could not control us. So the greed helped us. Three things which helped us. One was the Musazis, who took up the resistance. Musazi here, Jomo Kenyatta, Julius Nyerere, Mandela, Azikiwe, all over the place, people in India, Gandhi, Nehru. This was reason number one, how we got our freedom again. Reason number two, the greed of the thieves. When the thieves fight among themselves, it's good for the owner of the property. Then number three, we had support from the socialist countries. Those people were supported by China, by Russia, and by some few other places. But also some of the Europeans, some of the West Europeans, some of the groups, like they used to call it Committee for Freedom. The ones who were working with you should write about them, my young sister. The Europeans who are working with supporting the freedom movement. Abakolanga na mzee wafe. Ujoba wandi koko. There are some individuals. So that is the story of I.K. Musazi. Here, I have written in more detail about all this. When I gave this speech on Mzee Mandela, but here I just made a summary so that I can see quite a number of Bazukuru who sometimes are not well informed. I said, Bambi, abantu bano kambaburi, so that I can see whether I can cure their lack of information. If I don't do it today, I will try another time. So we are here to build a center, to raise fundraising for a center for remembering this man. In the case of Uganda, Ike Musazi, who left his job of teaching. I hear that he had qualified as a teacher. Huh? You should write all those details. I hear that he had qualified as a teacher, as a priest, a Catholic priest, Church of Uganda. So whatever it was, he abandoned advantage, because those who became who were in the colonial system thought they had some small advantage, some kasara, those so-called advantages. But Musazi said, no, we must fight for the freedom of our country. And others joined him later. He kept shouting until others joined him. And so we are now saying that if you don't salute such people, how will you have a strong country? Because when you recognize the ones who sacrifice, then you encourage others who may also sacrifice tomorrow. And that's why it is very crucial to acknowledge the ones who did good work in the past. So therefore, we are here to raise money. He was like a rich man. He had land in Nakaseke, but the land has been encroached on by the neighbors. That's an area which I know very well, because that's where I planted my first landmine, the one which blew up for some other people, at Timuna Primary School. Actually, that's why I planted the first landmine, at Timuna Primary School. It came up and blew up some bad people who were now that's why the area, Kasangombe, Bukorwa, Busera, Nakaseta, that's my area of fighting. That's where, in fact, when we were fighting there, we didn't even know that there were educated people from there. I never saw any educated person. The villagers told me that Limbazake were the only one from there who was educated. But later on I found there were others, but they were no longer known in the villages. The Savannah stores, they were from that area. But when we were fighting, we didn't know that there were educated people from that area. So once we get a bit of money, our sister here will go and buy some land in the Kasang, and we start building. Now, for me, of course, I will sell a few of my cows and make some contribution. But for now, for today, I contribute 100 million shillings. I brought 30 million. By tomorrow, 100 million will be here. So I thank you very much. It's an honor, and I want to thank our sister Elizabeth. Bana Uganda batera nyo kwerabira muzego wabwe batera nyo kwerabira naye olemeddeko notijukiza Thank you very much. I wish you good luck.
Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for His Excellency the President. So let's organize ourselves. We want to have this photo on Facebook also. So let all of you fit in the photo. Then we will have the anthems. So can we stand by with those anthems? And finally, the workers. Workers, thank you very much. Amalgamated Transport and General Workers Union. Amalgamated Transport. Now, this is staff of Amalgamated Transport and General Workers Union. All right. So this is the final photo. We want to thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. And as the president had requested Leonard from the institute to take him and show him the literature that is also on display as the president is. So Leonard, please do show His Excellency the President this literature. Yes. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please do take your seats. Dinner